Welcome back. Another episode of Burn the Ship. Thank you for being here, my friend. I'm Bailey Cooper. This is, like I said, Burn the Ship. Our goal here is to bring some value to the entrepreneurs, professionals that are listening. We know there's a lot of you guys out there that are going all in on your business, taking a lot of the tidbits that we've put on YouTube and putting those into action. So we appreciate you guys for tuning back in. New friend, new connection of mine. I actually hadn't met you before the networking event the other day, and now you're in the office. Appreciate you coming up here. So I don't want to steal all your thunder. Would you tell people who you are and what you do, my friend?
Yeah, thanks for having me. My name is Brandon Addison. I'm the CEO of Low T Nation. We're an optimal health and wellness clinic. We specialize in all sorts of things from hormone replacement, weight loss, ED. We do some regenerative services and some other things as well in the clinic around aesthetics.
Cool. I've been talking. I enjoy the non-traditional health and wellness space very much so in both the credit card processing world and in the podcasting world. I think there's two things that you absolutely have to have in that industry to be successful, and one of them is a super positive attitude. At least 95% of the time is super positive attitude and a desire to help people. And when you have those two things, you kind of pave your way really well in that industry for some success. Tell me kind of how you got started. How did you get into that business, and how did it start to grow?
Yeah. So previously, in my previous life, I owned an internet marketing company,
Oh, cool.
and we specialized in the medical space. It was a real specific niche in the medical space. One of my clients had a good friend that owned a testosterone clinic out in Texas, and he just kind of hit me up. He goes, "Hey, man, would you be willing to do the marketing for this clinic?" And I said, "Yeah." And as part of our setup, we would fly out to each clinic, and we would film a bunch of service videos that basically introduced that clinic to prospective clients. We would interview the doctors. We would talk about the services that they have, but we would also do video testimonials of their current patients. And it just blew me away, man. He had like 20 patients lined up for these testimonials, and every guy was like, "Man, I'm a better dad. I'm a better father. I'm a better husband. I'm better at work. I lost the 50 pounds." And other guys were just talking about like, "Hey, my wife is a smoke show, and I didn't want to touch her for a year, but I
Mhm.
love her to death, but I just didn't want to be with her." And other guys are like, "My boat is my favorite thing, but I didn't take it out last year." And this clinic like turned that around for all of these guys. And I literally called my wife that night, or like maybe the next day, and I'm like, "I think I want to do a testosterone clinic next because this is so profound." And my wife was like, "You don't know anything about doing that." And I'm like, "Well, I didn't know anything about internet marketing, before we started doing it. And here we are." And within about 6 months, I'd sold the internet marketing company and had jumped into the hormone replacement space. And we started small. We started very, very focused only on men. And then we've grown, leaps and bounds since then.
Sure.
Mhm.
So what did that actual transition look like? Were you already in Atlanta when you were doing the internet marketing company?
I was, yep. And so I had fingers in the medical space and knew a bunch of doctors, so that opened up the door. And so I just leveraged some of those existing relationships, and I said, "Hey, like I'm learning this new model of testosterone replacement. You can integrate it into your clinic." And of course, we had the marketing ready to go for it as well. So I literally learned how to do the hormone replacement. I hired pharmacists to come to my house and teach me a bunch of this. I started going to seminars, and I just rabbit holed this stuff for months. I figured it out. I figured out the model, how I could actually implement this into just a regular doctor's office. And because I could market it well, I would go to these guys and I'm like, "Hey, here's the protocol. Here's the marketing. Let me know if you want to, be a part of this." And a lot of them did. So I did that for a couple of years, literally just, injecting the testosterone replacement into their services. And eventually I was like, "All right, I know enough about this. I'm going to do my own clinic." And that's when we formed Low T Nation. That
Sure.
was
So you
about
went to
6 years ago.
got a retail space and started growing and marketing for yourself from
Yep.
there. Where are you
hmm
guys located?
On the Marietta Square.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we did Midtown, then we did
Pretty good
Buckhead.
place.
I live on the square. I walk to work every day, man. It's a blessing to work, right beside where you live.
So you guys transition, you're just in the one space, or you still have those other spaces?
We don't. We're a headquarters-based telemedicine clinic,
Oh,
so
cool.
we don't really need a lot of brick and mortar. So we just stay close to home now. We're licensed in about 10 states, so we can work in Florida, Texas, Alabama, North Carolina, a bunch of other places. But we primarily now are really focused hard on our Marietta market. Like we want to bring it home and keep it home big time.
So is the testosterone therapy, is that something that people have to come to you for, or you're saying they can do that from some type of telesupervision at home?
Exactly. We have a telemedicine model where it turned out it was so perfect for COVID just by luck. The patient calls in, we send them to LabCorp to get their labs done. They send us the lab results, the actual LabCorp does. And then we do a consultation over the phone with them. And if they qualify and they want to sign up, we just ship their medicine to them every month, everything they need. And then we follow up with them on the appropriate intervals. But we're literally using LabCorp, we're using compounding pharmacies and FedEx. Like those services will never be compromised in any kind of lockdown.
Yeah, billion-dollar companies.
Yeah, and they're also just essential, right? Like they're critical to just the company or the country, staying open a little bit during COVID. All these other clinics that had walk-in, where you had to walk in and get your shot every week, they shut down, and it flooded the market with guys looking for a solution. And we were there for them. So we were so blessed during COVID. I mean, we almost doubled during COVID.
Wow.
It was a huge blessing. I always say I built this for a lazy guy or a busy guy, right? I'm like, we'll do all the work. We'll remind you when it's time to go to the lab. You never have to come and see us if you don't want to. Turned out it was just perfectly pandemic proof.
Is this, well, first of all, my first question is like, what do you get in the mail, and like, what do you have to do?
So if you qualify, let's say you were to come to us, you've gone to the lab, we see your lab numbers, you've had the consultation, we feel like our program is a good fit for your goals, right? Because we want to make sure we're all aligned, philosophically before we do anything. If you are, we, based on your numbers, we'll send you a certain dose of testosterone. It's an injectable, it's a half of a cc twice a week, like a Monday, Thursday. The moment you inject testosterone into a guy's body, his body goes, oh, I got plenty, I don't have to make anymore, right? So the guy will get like testicular shrinkage, and over time that can cause some serious damage. Well, we give him medicine that keeps the testicular function up and running. And some guys make a boatload of estrogen when we give them testosterone. If he's that guy,
balance it.
Yep, we keep the ratios right. Some guys need the estrogen blocker, some guys don't. But we custom curate the plan to the individual, And at 8 weeks, once you've been on our program, we send you back to the lab and we do another consultation. Because everything with, like, any doctor that tells you right out of the gate, hey, you need to be at this level, it's crazy because there's too many outliers. There's too many variables. He doesn't know that for sure.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about. Isn't the average range of male testosterone somewhere between like 200 and 900 or something like that?
If you look at LabCorp, it's 300 to 900 right now, which just a couple of years ago, it was 300 to 1200.
Wow.
Right? How does that happen?
What an even wider window.
Yeah, I know. And so what's normal is not normal. You know what I mean? So we custom dial in the plan and custom curate the plan for the individual. And it's based on how he feels at certain levels. Some guys need a lot more estrogen. Some guys need half the testosterone of the next guy. We don't pretend to know. And we tell everybody, don't trust our initial prescription. It's best guess. I mean, our guesses are pretty damn good, right? But again, we don't know you right at that level yet. But just trust the process because we'll dial you in perfectly.
Is there any expectation to do other stuff along with the testosterone?
Absolutely.
You got to work out, got to move around.
You don't have to work out, but it's like you got to take care of yourself. No one has better hormones than like, teenagers, like 17, 18, 19, right? They've got the best hormones from a strictly a physiologic space. Like that's when we're meant to procreate, right? Biologically, we're not supposed to be having babies at 40. We're supposed to be having babies at 20. We have an obesity epidemic in this country with our teenagers right now, right? And it's because they're just not doing the right stuff. So this is no different. I can take a 40-year-old and take him back to the hormone levels of a 20-year-old, but if he's just playing Xbox and eating pizza pockets every day, I can't overcome that. Right. You know what I mean? And when
you will be extremely rich.
Yeah. That's for sure. And when we get that magic button for that, but you still got to take care of yourself. You got to pay attention to what you eat. You got to move around a little bit. I don't care if you just walk, like do something every day. Our bodies are meant to move, And so, and of course, with the processed food issues we have in this country right now, and just, it's so easy to be sedentary and eat bad food. And that's just what happens. People get busy. They've got kids, they've got careers, they've got homework, they've got all these things. It's got to be a priority, right? Not many people are accidentally healthy,
right?
But we have amazing coaching for that. We have wellness coordinators. We have all of this incredible equipment where we can show you exactly what your metabolism looks like, what your body composition looks like. We have meal plan training. We have wellness coordinators that will like stay in touch with you every week, if you're on certain programs for accountability and motivation, and they kind of help certain people. It's an education issue with certain people. They don't know what a macro is, or they don't know how many calories they're eating. So we meet the person, whether it's emotional or educational or just lifestyle. We meet them where they're at and custom build a plan, to get them where they need to be.
Sure. So talk to me a little bit about kind of the intricacies of the business side of things. So you're at the point of where you're diving into your retail location, or even moving into the Marietta Square location. Like you've got a little bit of a client base. You understand the marketing. You understand fully the actual service that you're providing. Where did and obviously the telemedicine, the ability not to have to actually utilize that retail location like a chiropractor or something like that would obviously is beneficial. Where did you guys go from there? I'm assuming you just put the gas on the floor and started adding clients, and then started adding some of these other services, or
No, I'm a big believer in coaches. You know what I mean? I've always had a business coach. I think I always will. If nothing else, just for accountability, just to get projects done, and keep the goals like on the horizon. Because it's really easy to get focused on your business and let your goals slip off the horizon.
Oh yeah.
But I hired a business coach that understood this space, and he walked me through the complexities of hiring a medical director. Like, I have to have an MD with a license in Georgia that's in charge of my nurse practitioners and my PA. Right. So there's a lot of legal complexities inside that. There's a boatload of compliance around pharmaceuticals and around prescribing, especially across state lines. There's all of these nuances that if you don't hire a pro, like, you can't just figure this stuff out. You can't just Google it. You Google it, you get 10 different answers, right? You're like, oh, we're always going to lean towards the one we want to be true. But you need some black and white, some real objective legal and professional advice doing anything new, so hired a coach, jumped in. I hired my medical director. I'd been training doctors actually how to do the diagnosing and prescribing part for a while. So I hired my first nurse practitioner. We got her trained up, and then I turned on some marketing, and all of a sudden the phone started ringing. Man. And I was like, I think this is going to work.
Absolutely.
And we've been blessed ever since. We're passionate about it. I don't hire people that are already necessarily great at a thing. I hire people that are great at just being a great human being. You know what I mean? They're just trustworthy and amazing humans. That's who I want to hire. So we have the most incredible staff. My ex-wife is my office manager. My wife works at the clinic as a nurse practitioner very soon in the next few weeks. I've got family there. We've got friends from, 15 years ago that work there. They're just good people, and that's the other trick is like, I don't care what your business is. If you don't have good people, like your host, you can't do it, So hire good people, train them to do what they need to do, and go from there.
Yeah, I think that what I was talking about at the beginning lends itself to the hiring of good people as well. Is like, if you're excited and passionate about what it is that you do, and you come at it from a standpoint of helping people, you'll do the same thing for your employees. Like, you'll always think, how can I help these employees? Like, what is the benefit of coming to work here? What type of environment or benefits can we provide to these people that are going to help us kind of achieve our goals as well? So I think that your mindset and the way that you look at business in general probably lends itself really, really well to the hiring process and adding people to that team. Tell me a little bit about kind of some of the struggles. I know that there's a lot of, like you said, there's a lot of fine print in the medical and the legal world. And then obviously you guys have kind of branched out to some of these other services. Now you guys are doing a lot more. What was the thinking behind that?
Well, we ended up with a boatload of men, on our testosterone plan, and their wives.
Literally a boatload. Yeah.
And our wives, or their wives, were like, what a profound change. Like, they would call us like, hey, do that with me. And I'm like, we don't, I had such a passion for this initially too, because there were now it's more commonplace. We were the first people in Georgia doing this, when I started this, a guy couldn't go get good testosterone replacement anywhere, right? No one knew how to do it. There just wasn't a market for there was obviously a market for it as far as the consumer goes, but there was just a non-existent testosterone market, so guys were getting hosed by their doctors who meant well. They just didn't know what they were doing, and they were causing more harm than good. That's where we started. The complexity of adding more things on came from like the wives just wouldn't leave us alone.
Mm.
Finally, we got trained in the women's side and we started doing that. Well, then we ended up with a lot of women on board. And I'm like, well,
How does
maybe
it work for women? Because obviously it's not
it's the
testosterone
same.
replacement.
You'd be shocked. Women need a lot of testosterone. In
Really?
fact, the average woman makes more testosterone than she makes estrogen.
Wow.
Believe it or not. Yeah. So testosterone is important with women, but so is estrogen and progesterone. And we manage perimenopausal and postmenopausal women, and it's the same philosophy, right? We're treating the symptoms. We're going to dial the system in for each woman.
Mm-hmm.
We don't. Every woman's different. So we don't say, hey, everybody starts at this level. We try to, do our best guess early, and then we dial it in and get them set. And with women, it's more like everything with women is more complicated, right? It's just they're more complicated creatures, and hormonally, it's exponentially so. Guys are so simple hormonally. You set them, they're good to go. They rarely change.
Mm-hmm.
With women, as they start menopause, it's literally called the change, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's called the change. So when we get
Probably
a woman,
if you look at what LabCorp is telling you, pre and post menopause is like you're looking at two different people.
it is two different people,
Yeah.
right? It basically is just the way their brain works is different, and we need to take all of that into consideration. But even when we get the prescription right, if they're like 6 months perimenopausal, 6 months later it's wrong again, right?
Right.
Their body's changed again. So we have to work with them, and we communicate with them, and we get them on board with again the system. They know we're a team player. They know that, hey, this is not a simple process, and we just have to work together and communicate and keep on the same page the whole time that
Sure.
they're a patient.
Absolutely. You think Vitor Belfort helped your market back in the day? I'm sure
Yeah.
you ever seen
The
like
post
pre and
TRT,
post
yeah.
TRT
People
Vitor.
saw that and they're like, man, you see these guys.
That's what I think of.
Right.
That is literally what comes to my mind when I hear the words that describe your industry. When I hear testosterone or replacement or therapy or anything like that, I think jacked muscles like Vitor Belfort knocking people out like that. That is literally what comes to my mind. Do you kind of have to overcome some of that stigma in
Absolutely.
your industry?
And it's not unfair that assessment, because I tell everybody, like, the testosterone industry is a little slimy. We're guilty until proven innocent, so we remain above board with our protocols, with our training and our education and all of this. But one thing I like to bring back is like, so Vitor, when he was on testosterone, he, like you said, jacked, all of this. But when he came off, he still had access to the best trainers in the world. He had access to the best food in the world. He had access to all of the things that elite athletes have access to except testosterone. And you saw how his body deflated, and he like never won another fight. Right?
Oh yeah, it was night and day.
Right.
Two different people.
Yeah.
Almost.
And so that's what I like to tell people. I'm like, yeah, I mean, we're not going to help, like, we don't write testosterone so guys can get jacked. If you come to us and you have healthy testosterone levels, and what you're saying is like, I just want, I'm a CrossFitter, I'm trying to get a new PR, or I just want to put on 10 pounds of muscle. Like,
philosophically, that doesn't align with what you
and
guys
it's
are doing.
illegal, right? We can't do it for anti-aging. We can't do it for performance enhancing. We have to treat it's a controlled substance, so we have to treat a medical condition with it, right? And so there has to be something medical that we're fixing. We have other things for those guys. We have peptides that we can legally and ethically and above board give somebody just to get jacked, but those aren't controlled substances, so there's not a medical reason behind the prescription that's required.
What is and probably low energy is probably the thing that brings you guys
primary driver.
Yeah.
They're like focus, concentration, the ability just to retain information is impacted big time. Of course, it's nice to be able to gain muscle, lose fat, stay lean. All the bedroom improvements obviously are super important for some guys. But it's just energy, because everything's based on energy. If you don't have the energy, you're not going to be the dad you can be, the husband you can be. You're not going to be the professional you can be. You're not going to do any of these other things. And the reason why guys like get fat when their testosterone is low, and I'm a firm believer in this, is they just say no all the time to things they would have said yes to. And when you account for the calories saved by always saying no because you're just too tired, that's literally our body's way of keeping us alive. You know what I mean? Like, when people are in a calorie deficit, they don't have any energy, and that's your body's way of saying, don't leave the cave. Like, we got to wait till winter's over and spring is back, and like the nuts and the berries and the fruits come back. Like, this is all like primal DNA programming, your body reserves energy to get you through these cold spells,
For sure.
get you through the winter. And low testosterone is just a cold spell. So you say no to all these things that you would have burned a ton of calories. You'd have been out golfing, boating, on the lake, doing whatever. Instead, you're on the couch.
Sure.
Mhm.
Well, I think the big business thing to take away there from is that you guys solved a problem like earlier than anybody else could solve that same problem, at
Mhm.
least here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if you're out there and you're listening, think about that from your own business standpoint. Is like, what problem or what value are you bringing to people, and how many people can solve that same problem, and how can you be unique? Because this is pretty unique still. I mean,
Mhm.
not as much
Right.
today, but especially when you guys started, it's very, very unique. And it's probably pretty unique, the amount of thought and the amount of preservation and preparation that you put into
Mhm.
actually understanding these solutions that you're giving to
Yeah.
people that are having these certain things. I'm sure that that's even in itself is not the standard for your industry. I'm sure there's a
No.
lot of people throwing a lot of money into your industry and hiring some people and letting it be its own thing, you
Yeah.
know? So
Big
you,
time.
you guys are definitely very unique in that standpoint. Like I said, desire to help people and positive attitude, like the understanding that you can do positive things for people goes a long way in that health and wellness world. It
Mhm.
really does. It makes a big impact. So tell me, kind of as your business continues to blossom, continues to grow, obviously everything's going really well right now. Where do you see yourself kind of repositioning your time? You know, whether it's retirement or you've automated your business to some extent.
Mhm.
Where do you see yourself going whenever you've reached more of your goals?
Well, I'm blessed enough to kind of I've already been there in some aspects. So the thing that's the most important to me, I don't need a yacht. I don't want a yacht, right? I don't need a $20 million mansion. I don't want it. The headaches that come with that, they don't align with what makes me happy.
Hmm.
What makes me happy is travel and freedom.
Hmm.
And I'm blessed with an incredible staff that I don't have to micromanage. My job as the owner at this point is to keep our compliance dead on, right? Make sure the culture there is solid, make sure the people are happy where they're at, and to make the phone ring. I'm the marketing aspect of what
Hmm.
I do. And as long as I do that, they don't need me there. In fact, I always say they work better if I'm not there. You know
Sure.
what I mean? I'm just not in the way. I'm always like poking and prodding and like, hey, how about this? And have we thought about this? And they're like, oh my God, can we just do our job? You know what
Hmm.
I mean? Like, let me do my job. And so, I don't pay myself a ton, but our my credit card spend's pretty substantial with this business. We've
Sure.
got like, hundreds and hundreds of patients that we order prescriptions and ship to every month, right? So my pharmacy bill is outrageous. That allows my wife and I to travel a ton,
Hmm.
just on Sky Miles and Marriott points and this and that. So we travel about a week out of every month. Last year we were gone 12 weeks. This year we're hopefully our game plan is to be gone 20 sorry, we're gone 12 weeks last year.
Hmm.
We're shooting for 20 this time. We're going to Ecuador for a month in June.
Oh wow.
I can run my business remotely, and again, I couldn't do that if I didn't have the great people that I have. And I'm
Sure.
so blessed to have that. And they're supportive of me being out of the office. They don't care one way or the other. So that's my thing. I want freedom. I don't want to be tied to a desk. Like 40 hours a week. I don't care how much money I make doing that. It doesn't align, with
Hmm.
what's important to me. So I want freedom. I want to be able to travel, and we're kind of there. My wife's
Absolutely.
a nurse practitioner, or very very soon. She's about to finish in just a couple of weeks, and again, we're setting up a primary care model where it's going to be primarily driven via telemedicine. That's going to be her role at the clinic, and so wherever we're at in the world, she can run that. So I built this thing to be able to just be ran remotely.
Hmm.
You know, as long as FedEx is in business and LabCorp is in business and compounding pharmacies are in business, we can run our clinic from our garage anywhere.
Hmm.
So it's nice. All the in clinic stuff is nice, but that's our bread and butter. So
I like that because the book stops with you there. You know what I mean?
mm,
With the marketing and those relationships that you have with those companies and the culture that you're establishing for your people, those are all three things that you're like, okay, the most important three things in my business are going to be the most important three things that I can hold as close to my chest as
mm,
possible. I think that's the art of being a business owner is like what can go wrong or what is the most important for my success in the future is like I have to be able to handle those things up front. Like I have to preemptively make sure that all of those things are going right so that I can do what I want to do.
Hmm.
But those are good goals, man. I'm excited for you. I hope you have
Yeah,
you have
thanks.
an interesting time in Ecuador. It's a
Oh yeah,
cool place from what I understand.
it really is. The Galapagos is like it's
Yeah.
a super unique place on
Yeah.
this planet. I'm excited about that, and it's just and when I travel a ton, but I work when I travel. I
Mm-hmm.
never completely disconnect for one reason. I love what I do,
Mm-hmm.
so it's not work. Right, I'll log in for a couple hours. If my wife wants to go do something, I can shut the laptop and go do it. But if I'm sitting there, I'd rather, dork around with some little project than watch, whatever garbage TV she's watching at the time,
Right.
Bravo channel or something. And so, even though I get to travel, I never completely unplug, but it's not like I'm having to work.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy my job. I enjoy the
Yep.
industry. I enjoy my patients. I love our patients so much. They appreciate us so much. Like if you were to look at our reviews, some of them will make you cry.
Right.
These reviews are talking about saving marriages and guys that, restored himself back to where he, was 20 years ago, and he feels like a new man and get better dad, better husband, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't ever get tired of hearing that. We hear it all the
Sure.
time, and it never gets old. So,
Sure. Well, that's exciting, my friend. It really
yeah.
is. You guys are a very unique business. I hope to be a part of having you guys help some more people as well. Tell me, how do we get a hold of you? Yeah, I know you said to find you on the Marietta Square. How do we
Mhm.
find you online if we have anybody that wants to do some business with you or talk to you, pick your brain about
Sure.
something?
Lowtnation.com
Mm.
is the our website. Lists all our services. Talks about what we do. If you want to talk to me specifically, we have a phone number. It's 866 fix low T,
Mm.
and give us a call. I'm always happy to chat. And like I said, starting out, man, you have to leverage the knowledge of experienced people like in your vertical. And if you were looking to go do something, I promise you, there are people that are already doing that. They'll be happy to help.
Absolutely.
Always. I've rarely asked a question of someone that I knew had the answer, and they wouldn't tell me.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and so just ask. Learn and leverage other people's experience because that'll save you from making the same mistakes they've made.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. Learn what everybody else learned before you have to learn it firsthand.
yeah, for sure.
Tell me, last question here. Like I said, the podcast is called Burn the Ship. Our goal is to bring some value to those guys out here. I think you've given a very interesting perspective to your business, as well as a decent pathway to what it looks like to kind of dive into an industry or an industry similar to yours. Take yourself back to that moment where you decided, hey, I'm going all in on this industry. What does it feel like, and why should the people that are out there kind of kicking that same ball around of like, oh, should I commit, should I go all in on this industry, here's what I want to do, I really want to do it, should I go all in on it? What did that feel like when you actually flipped that switch, and why should other people
Yeah,
do it as well?
it was fucking terrifying. You know what I mean? Like it really was. But I know this, and this is something. I mean, I've known this forever. You ask anybody on their deathbed what their regrets are. It's rarely what they did. It was usually something they didn't do.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I told myself early on, it's like I've driven one business into the ground like a kamikaze plane, just But I learned a lot. You know what I mean? I don't regret that at
Yeah.
all. I regret things I don't do. And I knew when I saw this, like the day I did those interviews or those testimonials, I could feel it inside me. And I knew if I didn't do it, I would ask myself, what if forever? So yeah, it's just scary doing new things. It's overwhelming. There's so much you don't know, but that's easy. You just eat the elephant, right? One bite at a time. The whole adage of the journey is it's just footsteps. The first one's always the hardest one to take, but it's just one step at a time. But I don't want to carry around what ifs. What ifs weigh on me so heavily. That fear is a short-term fear, right? It's just to get over that next hill, right? Once you're past, you're afraid of what you don't know. So just walk into it. Now you know what it is. But that what if lasts forever, right? I'd carry that burden for the rest of my life. So
For sure.
I'm not into doing that.
Absolutely. Yeah, the first step is the hardest one to take, but you have a bunch of people like myself, like yourself, Roderick, the rest of our organization here that is highly willing to help you make that first step. We just want to play a small piece in being valuable when you're weighing those options. And, if we can help you or kick around or give you any perspective ourselves, feel free to lean on us as well. But I appreciate you coming on, my friend.
Absolutely.
You're a wealth of knowledge. You're exciting in your business. What you're doing is exciting. There's a lot of people out there that identify with being able to create that feeling in people. So I appreciate your time. I appreciate your energy. We'll have to bring you back on in a few months, see how everything's going.
I'd love to. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, my friends, let's burn the ship.